Just checking to make sure everything was okay there.
Come on.
I'm sorry. So I get a text message a little while ago from the one of the managers at my store, my other full-time job, and I'm here in Texas, and the governor said starting on Friday, a bunch of businesses, including retail businesses, can reopen, and it turns out that our store is going to be one of those that reopens. We're going to start on Monday, and I will be among the first tranche of employees that are going to be coming in to reopen the store.
Nice.
It is unclear how many employees will be involved there, but I like to think that I was the first one they thought of. And
been nice knowing you.
You're the first one I thought of.
I think it would be easier if they just mailed me a little vial of serum that I could just pour into an open wound and see what happens.
I think chances are good that you're going to test positive for COVID-19 antibodies. I'm very, very convinced that's the case.
I think the most optimistic thing that could be said is that I've lived a good life, and so.
No, you get this kind of little dry cough for quite a while and no fever.
Yeah.
Those are symptoms of a mild case. You hang out where there are thousands of highly infectious redneck cowboys flush
Actually,
with cash,
mostly
which
people
has
from
crossed
overseas.
so many diseased palms that it's impossible to track. I think you're practically the laboratory patient for this kind of thing, Scott.
I tested positive for Scotch, vodka, and tequila.
I'm at work. My nickname is Vector. They just refer to me as Vector.
What's the vector, Victor?
Why? Disease vector?
Yes. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And you're right. I have had for the last, I don't know, almost a month or so, this kind of dry cough, a little bit of sniffling, occasional sneezing. It's hard to tell, though, because sometimes the sneeze is just like one of those sunshine sneezes, or when you suddenly get into a burst of cold air or the rapid temperature change. So it's been annoying, but I've never had a temperature. In fact, I can't even muster 98.6. Like, my body never gets that hot.
Yeah. I run about 98 even most days. Don't know why. Just do.
I'm usually in the 96, 97 range, and I'm not sure if it's Celsius or Fahrenheit. I've never really read the package, but it's one of those.
I'm
So
sure
anyway,
it is. I know it's not Kelvin. I'm pretty sure that.
126 Fahrenheit is my normal body temperature.
Hot, baby.
If I get above 130, I know I've got a fever or something's wrong.
That's in turbo range there. I've got to say, I've got mixed feelings. Like, I definitely, when they texted me and said, hey, do you want to be among the first group that comes back? I said yes, without hesitating. On the other hand, I really have enjoyed my month of not getting up and putting on the necktie and going to this place, which I love, and it's filled with people I love. But I've really thoroughly enjoyed the process of the last several weeks of being able to explore some things that I've always said, well, if I had some time, I would do that. And I've been able to do some of those things. And so now my life has come to an end.
Who would have thought that the Chinese would be brilliant enough to come up with an invention that makes Americans desperate to go to work? That's an absolute achievement.
Thank you, you filthy commies,
Very
for making
clever.
us love the capitalist system more than ever.
Crap, it's the weekend. What's today? It's Friday. GDIF.
I can't go back until Monday?
That's right. Well, see, normally in the business that I'm in, it's a retail business, and so the big time is the weekend.
Yeah.
So, anyway, but I'm not necessarily big time when it comes to that. So this, by the way, I'm Scott Ott, and with Stephen Green in the collared button-down shirt and Bill Whittle in the collared non-button-down, sort of, what was her name? Sally Field flying nun kind of collar on that. Was it Sally Field? Who played the
Sally
flying
Field
nun?
was a flying nun, yeah.
Yes,
Sally
yes.
Field.
Yeah. It was not Catherine Deneuve, I'm pretty sure of that.
Anyway, so that's Bill Whittle, and you members at BillWhittle.com are the only ones who get to see this. And by the way, we are going to do let's see, by the time you get this, I think, yeah, you'll have time still. Go to the website. If you're logged in at the website, you can send me a private message with your email address. If you have not previously participated in or been invited to our member video conference, we're going to do another one of those this week,
They're really
Wednesday around 1 p.m. Eastern, as we have before, and they're getting out of control. They're growing now. More people are participating in them. And so I'm going to pretty much have to exercise my power to mute everybody, or just Bill. Actually, that should cut down on the disturbances.
Yeah, the only time we ever really faced a member revolt was the time we tried to make backstage viewing mandatory.
I would like speaking of collars, I would like a Ming the Merciless collar. I've always wanted one.
What is Ming the Merciless? What does he have?
He had a collar that went up like this, and it did like a spike, and then it came up to the top. It was like this giant thing that was like a bouquet for his head.
It sounds like a dog surgery cone.
No, it had lightning bolts on it, dude.
Yeah,
it was epic.
Yeah.
And what is that a reference to? Was that a Brady Bunch thing or what?
No, Ming the Merciless was from Flash Gordon.
Oh, Flash Gordon. Okay.
Yeah. What I adore that movie. It's so cheesy and awful, and it's exactly the picture that Dino De Laurentiis set out to make, and he made it.
I was talking about the originals.
You know, I've tried watching the original, and it's so 30s.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody's wearing silver underwear, and the rockets are the size of a decent sized station wagon, and the thing is steered by moving, 3 levers like this. And here's the part that's funny.
Actual sparklers coming out the back.
Here's the part that's funny. That Flash Gordon view of what a spaceship looks like is no less ridiculous than what we imagine it is today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What it's actually going to be is going to be so different than it might as well be Buck Rogers. That's what I'm saying.
It's just Flash Gordon, the old ones. I said I've tried watching. I know I watched them as a kid. I tried again as an adult. But that Art Deco look of the spaceship is just, it warms your heart.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to check that out now. I was watching, this is as close as I get. I did watch a Carol Burnett and Harvey Korman skit today.
Did you? Which one?
Yeah. This was, have you seen The Pale?
The Pale?
The Pale, yeah. Harvey Korman is a psychologist, and this woman comes, and she's been coming to him for 7 weeks, and she thinks it's because she's having problems with her in-laws. But as it turns out, she had a childhood episode where some fat kid came over and stole her pail and put a dent in it, and she never got it back. Anyway, it's a great skit. I don't want to tell you anything else because it'll spoil it for you, but just look up Carol Burnett show or Harvey Korman, Carol Burnett, The Pale.
Is this at all related to the Bob Newhart Get Over It psychiatrist?
No, it's not like that. But that is Stop It.
Stop it. That's what it was.
STOP space new word IT.
Stop it.
That is a classic if you've not seen really Bob Newhart. And that was from not Second City, but like Kids in the Hall or something. What was that from?
No, not Kids in the Hall. They didn't do guests.
It was Mad TV, wasn't it?
Yes,
Mad TV.
Anyway, so that we recommend you immediately go and watch that rather than continuing to watch this because we're just having a meeting, Steve and Bill and I, about what we're going to talk about this week on Right Angle. And actually, I'm stuck. I mean, I'm privileged to have the extra opportunity to host 2 shows this week, and I actually don't have 2. I just have 1. So let me tell you the good one, and then the other one will just be kind of a dumping ground for whatever I come up with after that. The good one
Way to sell it, pal.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I bet you can't wait. People are on the edge of their seat. What they're thinking is, I'll bet you it's actually really good because he would never do this if it really sucked.
Oh,
no, we do that
contraire.
So by a 2
experienced
to 1,
viewers learned a long time ago not to get their hopes up.
I'm really just hoping to snooker the brand new ones. We have new members coming in every day, and I'm hoping just for one moment here, this is the last time you'll ever have any degree of respect for me or any curiosity about me, actually.
Too late.
After today, everything changes. So anyway, by a 2-to-1 on a 2-to-1 margin, the Sixth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled that public school students have a constitutional right to an adequate education. And this is in a, I know it sounds crazy, but this is in a case called Gary B. versus Whitmer. It's in Michigan. And basically what the court has said is that the state of Michigan, through a variety of reasons, including unequal per pupil funding, has essentially not given kids an opportunity to even attain to literacy. And so that these kids...
That's not the Constitution's fault.
That these kids who have under the 14th Amendment, they have an equal right, a constitutional right to have an adequate education, and the school system does not provide them, I love this phrase, does not provide them a plausible chance to attain literacy. And so we hold that the Constitution provides them with a remedy. Now, it's not clear what that remedy is, and they don't get into, are there teaching techniques involved in this, or is it just the unequal per pupil funding? But in any case, Detroit schools specifically are found to be wanting.
Well, there's no question about that,
yeah.
But this is not the answer to that. This is to blame it on the Constitution and look to the Constitution for a remedy that can be easily repaired by getting rid of Democrats in your government. If you've run Detroit for 80 years without a Republican mayor and watched the school system become essentially just a parking lot to put kids in for a couple hours a day, if they go, this is not required by the Constitution. The second that a commodity becomes a right, it's all over.
By the way, it's not just a parking lot. It's also rodent infested with teachers who don't show up and teachers who are unqualified, and a physics class that had only a biology textbook.
Well, this sounds like about what you'd expect for 80 years of rule by Democrats.
Yeah, my guess is, Bill, this is the state constitution, not the U.S. Constitution, since it's the state court ruling on it.
No, it's a federal court. It's a 6th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals.
Oh, yeah. I missed that part. I was sorry, I was off in my own little world.
Yep. But clearly they're going after the state. I mean, it's versus Whitmer. I've heard of a Whitmer character somewhere in Michigan.
No, as much as I am a huge fan of Whitmer, I just love her because she's so liberty-minded. But this is not the fault of the state. It's not the fault of the Constitution. It's not the fault of equal protection. This is as low a level as it gets. This is the district that you live in level. This is the school district that you live in level. When parents hold these people accountable, then they'll get better educations.
So you're saying the voters are to blame?
I am.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm making note of that. There was one of the plaintiffs that graduated at the top of his class from a Detroit school, and he wound up on academic probation at community college because he couldn't keep up, and now he's getting tutoring.
Wow.
So
he was valedictorian.
It didn't say he was valedictorian, but it said he finished at the top of his class. So top 10%, I would guess, and
he can't read at a community college level.
Can't cut it at community college.
Yeah. Now, for my part, I was in the 2/3 of the class that made the top third possible.
You're a giver, Scott.
That's right.
I also was in the top 80% of my class.
I couldn't put it in percent terms just because I was never real strong at that, but I was up there. Among the people who graduated that year, I can tell you, I was one of them. And so,
okay, let's talk about that.
Okay. So that's going to be my main topic. And then for members only, I have a grab bag of potential topics here. One is the Texas opening for business, and this is going to be indicative of other states around the country. 2 is the canceled New York State primary, the Democratic primary in New York, or I imagine all the primaries in New York canceled. 3 is the idea of bailing out states and local governments. Apparently, Harry Reid originally, or not Harry Reid.
not him. The new guy.
The new guy.
There's a new 70-plus-year-old guy.
That's right. They're all the same. But anyway, the Mitch McConnell at one time had indicated that states might want to voluntarily declare bankruptcy, but now is talking about a possible bailout for state and local governments. And in return for that, and this is the third sort of related concept there, is waiving the right of people to sue over this COVID-19 thing. Because he said that's the next pandemic, is COVID-19 lawsuits.
Yeah, great. I actually kind of like the Democratic Convention Council, but we did kind of talk about that on Bill Whittle Now today.
Yeah, but there's no overlap between these two audiences.
No, nobody watches any of them.
What do you think, Steve?
I try not to, if we're being perfectly honest here.
Just the fact that it can be canceled should give you an indication of how important it is and how artificial it is, right? I mean, people think this is built into the Constitution.
And besides,
just cancel it.
We know who the nominee is. It's whoever they get to replace Joe Biden after they throw him out of the boat.
Has he chosen a second yet? He chose somebody who will step in the duel just in case.
Bernie Sanders.
Right now.
Except it turns out that Bernie Sanders was in Vermont at the time and unfortunately wasn't able to make it to the field of honor. However, he did send a letter expressing his deepest regrets. And
he was just intimidated by the name,
and promising
Field of Honor,
to assassinate the victor if he should lose.
Right now, at this point, the DNC is maybe a week away from showing up in front of Joe Biden's house with a big old SUV with a flatbed trailer hooked up to it, and on that flatbed trailer is a giant ice floe.
What?
They're gonna stick Joe. They're gonna stick Joe on the ice floe.
Oh, okay.
And then take him away.
They're not going to do that until after the convention, Steve. After the convention, the DNC can simply select whoever they want to.
Yeah.
They're going to try and prop him up until then.
It makes me kind of rewind the whole thing and go, okay, was there anybody else in there that would have been a more did they have anybody? Cory Booker, Kamala Harris, Tulsi Gabbard, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders.
Nope.
No, Tom Steyer.
Nope.
What was the other billionaire's name?
Michael Bloomberg.
Michael Bloomberg.
Who?
How often do you think he's referred to as the other billionaire?
The other, that's one of the great things about this country is that there are so many billionaires that we don't know them all.
Oh, yeah.
Well, not personally.
I don't know how many
there are
there,
but
hundreds at least, I would think, maybe thousands.
We were driving around, when was this? Sunday, Saturday, and my wife and I just took this big driving trip around the county, basically, looking for places we could fish. And we were over by Lake Lavon, and then we went up to Lake Ray Roberts, I think it's called, and then back down to Lake Louisville. And we're driving around near Lake Lavon through this place I've never seen before. It's near a little town called Lucas, Texas. And Lucas has a store. It looks like a convenience store, but it's unlike any convenience store you've ever seen. Because you walk in the convenience store, first of all, there's like a full-fledged grill in there. So they've got somebody flipping burgers and doing all that kind of stuff. But as you go in to your right, there's these giant racks of like 50-pound bags of pet food and bird seed in a convenience store. If you go to your left around the corner, there are more bags of stuff on the floor, and you can buy horse riding gear, like there are halters and things like that hanging in there. But the best part of it is the sign on the convenience store in Lucas, Texas, on the outside says bait sandwiches.
Sounds kind of delicious.
But anyway, after we had a delicious bait sandwich, we're driving around and looking at these beautiful mansions. And I said to my wife, I said, there are an incredible number of either fabulously wealthy or deeply in debt people out there. I mean, it's really incredible. These, in your terms, Bill, these would have been like $10 million homes. Here they're probably $500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'll do the canceled New York primary for my episode, or bait sandwiches, whichever I feel like at the time.
You said bait with a T?
Bait, B-A-I-T, bait sandwiches.
Oh, Jesus Christ, that's disgusting. I thought you said baked, B-A-K-E-D.
No.
Bait sandwiches?
It's a panini with earthworms.
It's It said, and it's in the front of the store. It's got one of those lids on it that makes it look like a Pizza Hut. You know, the top of the store is like a red lid. And in great big white letters, the letters are probably 2.5, 3 feet high. It says, Bait, B-A-I-T, sandwiches.
Well, into what?
Into what do you mean into what?
You're going to bait the sandwiches into what? Because they don't
Well,
actually
seriously,
do
what
much.
is a bait sandwich?
So you don't know what's that?
What is a bait sandwich?
See, I think what it really means is the store sells bait and sandwiches.
And sandwiches. That would be my guess, yeah.
Because I don't think that there's no known fishing technique of which I'm aware where you actually make a sandwich for the fish. And there are very few people that want to.
I was trying to imagine. It sounded revolting. So they probably should have gone with sandwiches bait, I would imagine.
Yeah, that would have been good, or bait and sandwiches, or some form of punctuation between them that would indicate a separation.
/
Ampersand is your friend.
That's right.
Quotation marks around the bait.
Embrace the healing power of and, as Steve would say. And speaking of Steve Green, we are waiting with bated breath to find out what your topic is for this week.
Now, see, I have a theory.
Right.
I selected an emergency backup topic that I actually really want to do. In fact, I think maybe I like it better than my original topic, even though I wrote a column on my original topic yesterday. I did research. I sent a couple of clips to Mark, our editor, to weave into the segment like he does. But I think Bill wants this one, and so I'm going to go to my second topic. Bill, you going to do the Navy admitting the UFO videos are real?
Sure.
I mean, no, were you going to?
Huh?
Were you going to do the thing yesterday where the Navy finally admitted that those UFO videos were real?
Nope.
Okay, well, in that case...
He was just watching those for fun.
Okay, well, in that case, I have a question. Would you guys rather talk about the Navy finally admitting that those UFO, or now they call them UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena, that cockpit footage is real, the Navy released it officially, or do we want to talk about our nation of Karens?
Ooh.
Since I don't know, I have no positive association with a Karen, but I do with UFOs. I'll go with UFOs.
Okay.
No.
Bill, do you have a preference?
I kind of like Karen Nation personally, only because the video is just unremarkable. Really, I think it's unremarkable.
Yeah, it's all gray and fuzzy. All right, well, let's.
And frankly, the video,
fast.
the UFO video has been out for 3 years, but now the Pentagon just released it under this weird guise of basically saying, well, we want to make sure people have the authentic unidentified video.
Right.
Well, there are probably people that have overdubbed it and added all kinds of things. I've seen that kind of chicanery before with the UFO crowd.
Yeah, I was a little suspicious when I saw emerging from the UFO a tiny little Dirk Benedict. It made me uncomfortable.
It's something, and it's flying pretty fast, but I'm not impressed.
Yeah, we don't know.
Okay, so what does Karen mean? Okay,
Karen is the new Mrs. Grundy, which was a old saw of Robert Heinlein's. Mrs. Grundy is the nosy next door neighbor, and Karen,
Mrs. Kravitz, you mean?
Or Mrs. Kravitz, that's right. And now they're known as Karens, typically upper middle class white women who like to boss everybody around. And they're referred to as Karens, which of course is sexist and misogynist and all the rest. And
do you have
that's
any,
why I really
any
like to call
cultural reference that I would get? Like, is there somebody that I could call this now and who I would know?
Can you show the video of that woman, that teacher screaming at people in the park? I hope you die a slow, painful death because you're not wearing masks.
Oh yeah, let's run that. I don't know where that is. Do you have a link to that, Bill, so I can send it to Mark?
It's on that stupid Instapundit site somewhere.
Oh, you read that thing?
Yeah.
Well, I scroll through it. I don't know if I read it.
Yes, I do have a link. Hang on, I'll find it.
Yeah, send me that, and I'll work that into the intro. Oh, actually, no, I got a good spoken word intro, but then we'll go into the video, and then we'll talk about Karens.
The only posts I like on Instapundit are the ones by that Helen Smith character.
She's pretty.
And she has a lot of great deals at Amazon.com.
She does. Actually, she is my unrequited voice crush back from when I used to do a podcast with her and Ed Driscoll at the old PJ Media. And she just Helen Smith, Dr. Helen Smith, Glenn's
she's
Glenn's
awesome.
wife. I love her voice, and every time I get to see her in person, I always remind her that she is my unrequited voice crush. And I don't care if Glenn is like a foot taller than me and made of muscle.
And Glenn is not very tall.
No, actually, he's not.
He is made of muscle, though.
He is. So I try not to annoy Glenn.
Okay, so we're going to do the Nation of Karens. And what is the angle on this? Is this a new phenomenon?
Yes, and it's especially bad during the virus insanity shut-in time, because these are the women just making complete asses and fools of themselves, trying to boss everybody around, and they really don't like it when you call them Karens. So we're going to say Karen a lot.
Okay, got Nation of Karens there.
Actually, there are two Americas.
What are the two Americas?
Karens and non-Karens.
Now, and Karens are not like NPCs, right?
No.
They're definitely characters.
Although I do have difficulty telling them apart.
Okay, so I got that. Sir William of Whittle,
Yes.
you are last in the lineup, and you are not doing anything about UFOs.
No, I ain't. Oh, God.
Let the record show, by the way,
she's a piece.
time mark 26 minutes, 46 seconds. If we get out of this show
I've got 20 minutes to kill.
In less than 47 minutes, I'll be stunned. Go ahead, Bill.
I want to talk about something I just kind of came to the conclusion on the Chronosphere Lounge last night, and that is the idea that there is no feedback here on the back end of the curve. There are proclamations that are 6-7 weeks old saying we will open in middle of May. Information that's 6 weeks old is useless in a time like this. There are hospitals in Kern County that are basically closing because they don't have enough patients. The reason I decided to do it was I saw a story to back it up from a guy who's ER physician in Brooklyn who said, yeah, it was horrible, but it's basically the hospitals are empty. So
always were or now are empty?
No, now are empty.
Okay.
And not just, it's not just that there's no feedback. There's no, we're starting to see it with Texas and so on, but it's almost like this should be done on a countywide level, really. If Kern County has emergency care centers that are going out of business because they don't have enough patients and they're laying off doctors and nurses, then Kern County needs to go back to work. That doesn't mean it's time for New York to go back to work necessarily, but the idea that the entire country has to be on this kind of clock, especially a clock determined by, New York or by the idea of safety, it's not safe to open yet. It's, I've been a big supporter of the social distancing. I think it saved a lot of lives.
Absolutely.
But I think my opinion on this is at least 2 weeks old now. At least once the numbers started to come down, I started to say, okay, good. Let's get back to work. If the emergency rooms are so empty that they're firing doctors and laying off nurses, then that particular curve has been flattened into a crater, and that place needs to reopen. And it's telling to me, as I pointed out last night, that this guy who's taken a lot of heat for this guy is Dr. Harrison up in Kern County. But he's saying that we're sending doctors and nurses home. We're basically laying them off. He's not saying that they are flying them to New York to fill the critical need. I don't know what the total occupancy was on USS Comfort, but I've heard it was never more than a couple dozen, maybe 100 at the most, 80.
Yeah, I think they
like
served a total of 179 people during the time that they were there for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's the number I heard.
Has it sailed?
Yeah, I
left.
believe so, or it was scheduled to.
It did.
Oh, well, then that's your answer, isn't it? Right? Isn't that your answer? If
I don't think necessarily, though, Bill, because I think a lot of the people in the New York medical community didn't necessarily see the Comfort as a valuable option for them. just the difficulty of getting people there, the process,
Yes.
the
This is
filtering
a life or
or triage
death,
process that the
This is
comfort
a
do the
high
thing.
class. This is a high class problem. It's a little difficult to get people out there, and it's kind of a pain and so on. But this is not.
That's
the
not
same
the way I
as-
said it.
Well, it's not the same as Jesus Christ. We have our hallways are filled with dying people. We cannot get heart attack patients into the ER because of the lines of people who are around the block just dying on the sidewalk. That's what an overwhelmed medical system looks like. If the medical system is overwhelmed, it's not a question of how convenient it is to get people onto the comfort. It's like they're going to go to comfort or they're going to die. And the fact that
Bill, it's not just convenience. I mean, one of the things that we heard early on was the triage process and the qualifications that you had to have just to get onto the comfort kept a lot of patients off of it. So they couldn't send them there because they wouldn't have fit in the matrix of questions that they have to answer, basically, to be able to get on there. And they weren't taking COVID patients. They were
right.
They were releasing pressure from other hospitals.
precisely.
Yeah. It wasn't
but
set up for that at all.
all of this is all absolutely true. But the fact that it wasn't utilized means that the New York hospitals were able to cope with basically the COVID infection plus whatever ambient levels of heart attacks. I know traffic accidents are down, but all of these other things. The system, the fact that Comfort has left and maybe had 180 people on it is an indication that the system wasn't saturated. It was put there in order to prevent the situation from being saturated. So it wasn't saturated. I'm not saying it wasn't bad in New York. It's 40,000 people dead across the country, more now. But what I am saying is there's no feedback. If Comfort is leaving New York because it basically has nothing to do, then that is data. And no one is talking about this data. Everybody's just saying, well, we're going to have to stay shut. When you make a statement like that in March, as these numbers are starting to hit the exponential curve, people go, okay, all right, I can see it. I can see that this is really awful. But when you get to the end of April, and the numbers are down so low that hospitals are laying people off, then there's no feedback. There's no message. This whole thing was never designed to prevent people from getting COVID-19. The whole idea was to simply make the infection less intense and longer to keep it below the ability of the healthcare system to deal with. And if it is so far below the line now that we're sending people home because there aren't enough patients for them, then it's time to get people out there and get them infected because they're going to get infected. Everybody knows it. There was never, ever, in my mind, flattening the curve didn't mean flattening the curve is what we talked about. It means keeping the curve lower than the healthcare system's ability to cope with it. And if the healthcare systems are shutting down for lack of patients, then we have over flattened the curve. And it's time to get people back to work.
Yep.
So that's the upshot of it is it's time to get people back to work.
Yeah. It's nothing but good news. It's nothing but good news. There's nothing makes me happier than saying, yeah, Comfort sailed from New York. It really didn't have a whole lot to do. That's terrific news. But where is that affecting the feedback? Where does that information and the information from Kern County and the information from these guys saying, and I've heard from people who said, yeah, I went in for a broken wrist, had a broken shoulder. The emergency room was empty. Where is that data getting fed back into the system in terms of these arbitrary statements made by these governors? It's like, is it political suicide for them to say, hey, we said May 15th in California, but things have gone so much better than we thought that we're really ready to open on May 1st. I suspect that's the case, right? Because number one, if it's going better than we thought, that's bad for them because it makes Orange Man look good. And secondly, it basically restarts the economy, which also makes Orange Man look good. And we are at the point now where I am starting to feel like the medical fig leaf that I didn't think was a fig leaf, and I still don't think was a fig leaf, that the actions that we took were appropriate and necessary, saved a lot of lives. But we were told that we would be able to go back to work when the numbers started coming down. They've been coming down for 3 weeks now. And they're talking about holding us off for another 3 weeks. Why? If the emergency rooms are empty, why?
Yeah.
Why can't they say, my God, we handled this well? I think we know why.
Well, that's what my governor said.
And if Comfort is sailing from New York and only saw 160 patients and emergency rooms around the country are empty, then we handled this magnificently. Why don't we just say so? We all know why. They did a report on this guy who was talking about how he had to lay people off in his care centers, and he was just mercilessly attacked. And the California or Kern County public health official, this woman who's never been a doctor and has never treated patients ever, came out and said, no, we completely disagree with Dr. Erickson on this. And the video that the local TV station put together showed people in fully protective biosuits, head to toe, with masks and the white and all this other stuff. And that video is from China in January. And one of the points I made on the Chronosphere Lounge last night was, if people were dying at the rate that we thought they were going to be, have either of you seen footage of patients in the hallway in an American hospital?
No.
They always go to the Italian footage in order to show you that.
Yeah.
And if
they
this
don't
was
tell
happening,
you it's the footage from
that's
Italy,
right.
yeah.
And if this was happening, we would be seeing it around the clock. And the fact that we're not seeing it is a very difficult thing for people to become aware of. It's very difficult to become keenly aware of something that's not there. But once you become aware that it's not there, you start asking yourself some questions. I am not saying that this thing is a fraud. I'm not saying it's the flu. I'm not saying that at all. I'm trying to be as realistic as I can. But clearly, we are doing better than we thought we were doing. And I want to know why, if the science is telling us that we got to shut everything down, why are we not opening things up again when the science is telling us that this curve is flattened and cratered? Why?
The whole thing is a great argument for the Federalist concept.
That's
of pushing
exactly my
decisions down
conclusion.
to the lowest
That is
possible
my
level.
conclusion exactly.
Yeah.
If Texas wants to go back to work on Monday and New York doesn't want to go back to work until June of 2021, which is one of the numbers I've heard, good.
Man.
Be prepared, Texas,
For the influx of New Yorkers moving here?
Yes.
Yikes. Okay. That sounds like fun. We asked them to bring the U.S. U.S. Navy ship USNS Comfort here, but apparently not as many deep water ports in the North Dallas area as you might have thought. So
we got Mercy. Oh, Dallas. Yeah. Sorry. Los Angeles got the Mercy. I'm sure it's left too.
So the lake is upwards of 26 feet deep, though, right outside my door here. Ladies and gentlemen, we are grateful to the members.
You could get the USNS Minnow.
That's right.
Oh, it goes on 3-hour tours, right?
It
Yes, it was.
does.
It's
seven
missed
people.
the last one, though, for some reason. It hasn't been back in a while. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go about producing these episodes of Right Angle this week, thanks to your generosity and for making that possible. By the way, our blog has been more active than usual lately, and we're grateful to the members who have pitched in there and have figured out how to use that thing and to be able to post their thoughts. And by the way, if you ever email me and send me a note about something that you think is significant, I'm just going to tell you to post it to the blog. So go ahead and post it to the blog now, because you'd much rather have an audience of our members than just an audience of one. But thank you so much for your participation there. Thank you for your involvement, to those of you who've been involved in these video conferences that we're doing, and we're going to do another one of those this week. I don't know what's going to happen because I'm scheduled to go back to work next week, and I obviously can't do it in the middle of the day. We don't yet know what my schedule is going to be. The store is going to be like open 25% capacity, so I don't even know how that works, if they form a line at the door or what. And they said they don't yet know what my work schedule is going to be. So, but I know I'm supposed to be starting as of Monday, May 4th.
That's great news, man.
Yeah,
that just
really
makes me happy.
we'll see. And if the next broadcast that we do here is me from steerage on the USNS Comfort, then we'll know that things didn't go well.
By the way, I know this may seem a little uncouth, but if something were to happen, can I have that telephone behind you? The one.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'll put it on my desk back here.
I'll leave instructions to my heirs.
I like the calculator. Is that a TI?
It is, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, it's Texas Instruments.
Steve, I don't have any use for the microscope. Do you?
No,
No.
No, me neither.
Maybe my kids though.
This actually, this can add, subtract, multiply, divide, and do percentages. And the coolest thing, and I don't know if you can see it here on our camera, is that little red LED thing, which is really awesome.
That is my first calculator.
It was my first calculator as well. I bought this one it still has the tape, the masking tape with the price on it from the yard sale. I bought it for 89 cents at a yard sale. My grandfather, when he bought me the original, paid $79 for this.
Yeah. And that was 40 plus years ago money.
I bought the first LCDs, glowing LCDs, and I spent my first couple of paychecks on buying a calculator.
Yeah.
And it was, I want to say at Sears, I think it was like $170 or something, which is an enormous amount of money back then. Enormous.
I wanted this so badly. And
we did, didn't we? We wanted them so much. They were so cool.
By the way,
I think mine was down to like $35 or $40 by the time I got one.
Wow.
You see the sleek design of this very angular design. My understanding is the reason why it's designed like this is because prototypes were made out of cardboard. And that's what you can do with cardboard.
Yep.
And straight things are easier to make than curved things as a general rule.
That's right. And by the way, over in the corner over here, I have another
Unless
throwback.
you don't care about the curve, in which case straight things are harder.
That's right. The other childhood memory I have over there in the corner is a metal detector. My grandfather, I was raised by my grandparents. My grandfather also got me a Radio Shack metal detector kit. And together with Mr. Sirwatka across the street, who happened to have soldering equipment, he helped me to assemble that metal detector. And I used to go hunting for ancient coins in front of our front porch, where I did find quite a few.
I built a Radio Shack amplifier for my birthday. It was the first sound system I ever had. My friend Phil Trick helped me with that.
Nice. That's awesome.
It was either a AA-14 or a Pro 4 AA. I can't remember. One of them was an enormous pair of headphones, and the other one was a Radio Shack amplifier.
I had one of the little kit boards where you would put these little coil springs in and then attach wires to the little springs, and you'd map them around. And I actually made a sound activated switch that you could use if you clapped your hands or whatever. You could turn on a light bulb. But the problem was the switch only stayed activated for as long as the sound continued. So if you did this, the switch would go, the light would come on, but after a second or two, the light would go off again. So then I finally figured out it would be better to hook it up to the radio.
I have to tell you, my only memory really of building that is that going into it, it seemed to me that soldering things was almost comically easy. That's what I thought when I started, was how hard can it be to solder something? Well, turns out it is not easy.
Then you learn.
It's impossible to solder things is what I learned.
Yes.
But Mr. Sirwatka was really good at it.
I'm attempting to make a tricorder out of stone knives and bearskins.
You form a sort of primitive lathe.
So anyway, I was wrong. We're actually at 44 minutes on my mark, not 47 minutes.
There we go.
And so I'm going to let you all go now. Those of you who haven't already just kind of filtered out of the room.
There's nobody here anyway. It's like we're talking to no one. Everybody's already left.
It's true, and we're like sitting by ourselves in our room. There's nobody here at all. I'm talking into a little disc of glass in front of me.
And they pay us for this.
It's after a fashion, yeah.
After a fashion. I'm not an overpaid bill, but I am an overdue bill.
That's right. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you this week on Right Angle for Bill Whittle and Stephen Green. I'm Scott Hahn.